I know you are hurting. I know you are frustrated. I know you are angry. I know it's been a crap day. We're excited for Bibee, and we get a negative outing. But take heart. No matter how bad your day is, at least you are not Akil Badu, the king of the Dickache. Now, we'll get into that and so much more on today's episode of Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Guardians. Sorry if that was a little too off the cuff there with the comment, but it's true. If you missed the replay, it's about the only good thing to watch in that game outside of Jose's home run. I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We especially appreciate all of you everydayers right now in this time where this is not a fun team to follow, and we understand that. And those of you sticking with us, we appreciate you all the more for doing that. But this was, listen, I just did sit here and take it on the chin, right? I warned everyone this is going to happen. I finally activated Bibee, and
it's your fault, Jeff. I forgot.
It's
your
totally
fault.
my fault. So I'll take that hit there.
Jeff, as usual.
Team injury. You can blame me for Espino. Now you can blame me for Bibee. It's all my fault.
Anybody in your fantasy team, if you have them, just let Jeff know.
On my So Rare team, I've got Jimenez, and I've got Zanino, and I got Clase. So it's just, hey, I'm just bringing everything down.
You are. Oh, you know what the worst thing is? Like, it's fun to be good. It's not fun to be bad, but at least it's like interesting. Like you're, rebuilding or you're looking towards the future. This team still looking towards the future, but it's just everything is kind of stuck in the mud. They're still a young team. They're still the youngest team in the majors. But like right now, I don't think even Earnest Hemingway could find the words for this team. It's just so frustrating.
It would drive Earnest Hemingway to how he met his end.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, there's not. I don't think even he could put words on this right now. It's the same offense over and over. I mean, I said on Locked On Now right after the game was over. If you want to go watch that, you want to watch another minute of misery. It's May 8th, and we have run out of ways to describe this team cannot score, and there's not really much being done. There's nothing you can really do. We're going to get into that later in the show too. There's really not much you can do, but every night it's either they can't get on base, or when they do, they can't get the big hit. And again, I don't know how much that comes down to the fact that this team doesn't hit the ball hard. I mean, they're like the third hardest team to strike out in baseball. Fifth hardest team to strike out in baseball. But they are like 27th out of 30 teams at exit and hard hit rate. Like, this team doesn't hit the ball hard. Nobody hits on this team hits the ball hard. Josh Bell occasionally does. Josh Naylor occasionally does. Mike Zanino does when he makes contact. Jose's never been a big exit velocity guy, but he did it the home run tonight. But this is what happens when you build a team out of the same player over and over. By the way, those who are clamoring about DHs and offense and that kind of stuff, the Royals DFA'd Franmil Reyes. So if you think that the Guardians made a mistake letting him go, he can't hack it on the Royals. And the Royals probably have a better offense than Cleveland, and he didn't stick there.
Everyone has a better offense than Cleveland.
Yeah, well, if Franmil Reyes wasn't sticking there, he sure wasn't going to help this team. So, when you build your team out of offense like this, it's a young team, and like I said, I just am running out of words. They had chances again. They were 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They had 10 runners on base tonight in total, if you count the 4 walks and the 6 hits, and of course,
there's also the error on Detroit's side, which gives you an opportunity. Yeah, but it's, I talk about my box score bingo, which is essentially, errors plus walks plus intentional walks plus errors divided by 3. And that's roughly how many runs per game. Basically, if you get 3 base runners, you can expect a run from it. I think every single game over the last 3 weeks where I've done this, Cleveland is 2 runs, not just a run, but like 2 runs below the expectation. They cannot put anything together. And again, part of the problem here is 10 flipping base runners, no attempted steals. On noted defensive specialist Eric Haase. For those who don't know, Eric Haase was basically the reason he was cut by the Guardians is they didn't believe in him defensively. That was back when they're putting such a huge value on it. Not only would Eric Haase be, their number 2 hitter right now, but you got a guy that you guys thought so. I mean, his arm is solid, but it's, at best, he's an average defender. By your own scouting reports. If they thought he could be more than an average defender, they never cut him because it was a plus power profile. But they cut him. And I have to go and look who they released. It's going to be one of those things where, JB Shuck cost them. I can't think of who now. Anthony Santander. I think that was basically that was that offseason. So I'd have to go look. But it's Eric Haase, you didn't believe in his defense when he was here. 10 base runners, no. Not one attempted a steal. Not one.
No, you got to put the Guardians running game on the milk carton. Has anybody seen the Guardians running game? It is, they still, they piled up a lot of stolen bases. So if you look at the cumulative steals on the season, it looks like they're running a lot, but they just have stopped running the last 2 weeks. And again, this is the same thing we said yesterday. Are they not running because they're afraid to run into outs when they have runners on base? And that doesn't make sense. This team literally won the games they did last year because of fantastic base running. And I think when they're on base, when they go first to third, they still do a good job of that. But yeah, no steals. I mean, who was on base night? You had, like you said, you had
Straw had a walk. Quan had a hit and a walk. Rosario had a hit and a walk.
Rosario had a walk? Okay, yeah. If Rosario gets on base 2 times in the game, he should never have less than 2 steals. I mean, yeah, I don't love him running in front of Jose Ramirez and running into an out in front of him. But at the same time, the rules are set up for guys like Ahmed Rosario to run. That is his one good skill. He runs very well. And like you said, running on Eric Haase should have been a little easier, and the rules make it easier. Remember the episode we did on 538 stat about the Manfred stat, about how all the new rules were designed for the Guardians to take advantage of it? They have not taken advantage of any of these rules. They did it early. I just don't understand why they're not running. I don't know if anybody's asked that question. I don't know what's going on, but they just are not running anymore. I mean, Will Brennan was on first and Andres Jimenez was on third with Miles Straw up. Will Brennan should be on second base. Not that it mattered, because that was the Guardians' best scoring opportunity after Jose's home run was the 7th inning. Quan had a 10-pitch at bat against Jason Foley.
Situation. They're not going to throw it. Why not take a free base? You'll probably get pitcher's indifference. Why not take it?
Right, there's 2 outs and Quan's up, or even with Straw up, there's 1 out and Brennan's on first and Jimenez is on third. They are not throwing through to second base. And then Quan comes up with 2 outs. He has a 10-pitch at bat. That was with 2 on. That was their best chance to score at that point. And that point in the game, it was only 4-2. And I'm sorry, it's 5-2 at that point. But yeah, I mean, they just aren't running the bases, and it's just very befuddling if this team wants to generate more runs. Like you said, instead of bunting, just run. I mean, I even take a bunt for a hit from Straw with 1 out. You had a runner on third base. You could have dropped down a bunt, and Andres Jimenez could have scored. He loves to slide into bases. He could slide into home there.
It's the base that makes the most sense to slide into.
Right, drop down a bunt for a hit and let Jimenez score. I don't know. It's wild. And Will Brennan comes into the game as a pinch hitter, and he got a hit, which is great. But it's is that really going to help Will Brennan get out of the funk he's in? He went on to strike out another at bat against a lefty, because shocker of all shockers, the Tigers figured out what everybody else knows. You throw lefties against the Guardians, they lose. Joey Wentz, pitched okay. Wouldn't say pitched great. And then Jason Shreve came in, who's got a 6 ERA this year, gives the Tigers an inning and 2/3 scoreless, and he's been not good. I don't know if he's had 1 bad blow-up outing and that inflated his ERA, but and that's the other thing. At that point, Josh Naylor was in the game at that point, so he had to face Shreve. Will Brennan was in the game at that point. He had to face Shreve, and he had a miserable at bat against him. I don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about it later about there's really not much that can be done right now, but the lack of running is really
Shreve did have one 5-run game, but he also had 2 other games he gave up 1 run. So he's made, this was his 6th appearance, and in 3 of those 6, he has given up a run. So it's not like it's all that.
All right. Well, we have crapped on the offense enough again.
No, we haven't. There's never enough crapping on this offense, because this offense, is just a steaming pile at all times right now. There's no other way around it. They can't hit with guys on base. They can't hit to get on base. They can't run the bases. They sit there like cement statues once they get on base. They can't get anything together. The top of this line, they got 2 runs, even though Jose hit a home run. And the top of this lineup, Quan reached base twice, Ahmed Rosario reached base twice, Josh Bell reached base twice, Jose Ramirez homered. That's your first 4. And you get 2 runs out of that. Like, that is a serious issue. Like, that is a situation where this goes beyond, like, they need to have a meeting. They need to sit down and figure something out. They need to, someone needs to go explain to Tito that they changed the bases, because right now, it's like he doesn't know that there was changes.
If you need a meeting on May 8th, I'm sorry. Like, the Cardinals are in really bad shape, and the Guardians are helped out by this bad division. That's not an excuse, but like, if you need
they're 1-4 against the Tigers right now. They need a meeting.
Hey, the Tigers are a better team. Don't say that. The Tigers might just be a better team. They might be. I don't know. But if you need like a serious come to Jesus team meeting moment here on May 8th, I don't think you're in good shape the rest of the year. You should not need one of those meetings on May 8th. I don't think it's happened, and I'm not saying they need one either. I'm just saying if that's true, if you need one of those meetings on May 8th, you have a long season ahead of you. All right. Unfortunately, we do have to talk about Tanner Bibee, who, doesn't matter how good he batted or pitched tonight, he would have been victimized by the lack of offense. So we'll talk about Bibee and some steaming bad takes about Tanner Bibee's outing tonight as well in just a moment. It's your wonderful friends at FanDuel. I don't know if we're still taking the over on the Cleveland Guardians when it comes to FanDuel this year. We did tell you that was one of the bets you should have taken. Maybe we need to go ahead and change that. But go check out our lovely friends at FanDuel while you still can, and make some bets that are going to help you out. Locked On listeners are going to get a free bonus bet. I'll tell you about that here in just
the no sweat first bet, right? Up to
$1,000. Yes, the no sweat $1,000 free bonus bet. If your first bet doesn't win, that's $1,000 back. There's no better place to bet on all the playoff action in the NBA or on your favorite scoreless baseball team. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and get a no sweat first bet to $1,000. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And remind you to check out tomorrow's action, all that hot offensive action on SiriusXM Radio. They will have the game at 6 my time. So what, 7 your time? Is that the tomorrow start time with
No, I believe it's 6. I believe it's 6:10 again tomorrow.
6:10 again. Okay. So then 5:10 my time. But Bieber versus
Michael Lorenzen.
Doesn't matter. The Guardians will make him look like a Cy Young. Doesn't matter. He'll look like a Cy Young winner tomorrow night.
Yeah. All right. Unfortunately, I have to say some not so great things about Tanner Bibee tonight, but this is a guy who's had 3 AAA starts. This is his 3rd major league start. It's his 6th start of the year, and he was in high 8 this time last year. And look, we both think he's ready for the majors. Maybe he's not. Obviously, he's not a finished product. No one's saying he is. It doesn't mean he wasn't ready for the majors, but this is his 3rd major league start, and it wasn't great. He threw 37 of his 67 pitches for strikes. It seemed like when he wasn't throwing his fastball for a ball, it was middle of the plate. The Tigers took advantage, left a couple hanging breaking balls up. The one that was really disappointing was the one to Riley Green. So the one at bat, Riley Green just got under it and popped it out to right field. And the next at bat, he kind of did it again, and he hung it higher in the air, and Riley Green hit it for a double. I think that was the end of Tanner's night at that point. So
yeah, it was his last batter.
Yeah, and you don't want to get beat on essentially your worst pitch. Like Tanner's curveball is, probably average. It's a strike stealer that gives guys a different look, and it's probably his worst pitch out of all of his pitches. Which if your worst pitch is average or fringe average, you're probably in good shape. But not a pitch you want to get beat on in that situation. But look, he had 4 called strikes on the fastball. The Tigers did not swing and miss his fastball all night because, again, I think it was because he either wasn't throwing it for a strike, or if he did, he threw it down the middle of the plate. Slider still got plenty of swings and misses. The curveball did get 2 swings and misses, and didn't really go to his changeup that much. Not sure if that really mattered, but he just didn't throw strikes tonight. That's really what it was. And when he did, he was over the middle of the plate. And the Tigers, to their credit, have been hitting well lately. I mean, Eric Haase, we're going to talk about him in a minute. He was on fire and would be one of the best hitters on the Guardians team if he was still in the Cleveland system. Ouch. Riley Green's been better lately. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But I'm going to go ahead and say I saw one take on Twitter that I did not agree with. And someone said this is a guy who had a 4-something walks per 9 innings in the minors, and he wasn't shocked that he was having control problems. That 4 whatever walks per 9 innings in the minors was based off of 3 starts where Tanner walked 5 in 1 start, and their 2 starts weren't even close to that. If your data model says that this guy has bad control because of 3 minor league starts, you clearly have not watched him pitch. I'm a big numbers guy as much as anybody. I love data. I think numbers are great. There's a lot of things you can predict based on stats when they stabilized. This is not one of them. If you are relying on data from 3 minor league starts to say, oh, this guy's not good. I mean, if I would have just watched that one Tanner Bibee start and not worried about data in the minors where he walked 5 batters, I wouldn't come away saying this guy can't throw strikes because it's 1 start. You can't judge a player on stats or your eyes based on 3 outings. It's bad. And if you are giving people fantasy baseball advice based on 3 outings of data in the minor leagues without watching or reading anything else, you are giving bad advice. It is out of context, and you should feel bad about it.
Yeah,
I feel better now.
Here's what I'll say. One could make a case that Tanner Bibee has had the worst month of his pro career in the last month. Now, having said that, you can view that as a positive or a negative, and maybe both. That start in AAA was maybe his worst start I had seen him have in the minors. He had more walks and strikeout, more walks and strikeout.
Yeah.
Just don't see that. And I felt like a lot of the anger today is I could just see people's parlays falling apart because everyone's like, oh, he has struck out so many guys, and the Tigers are a swing heavy team. For whatever reason, the Tigers showed up today, and we're not a swing heavy team. A team that normally strikes out a bunch showed restraint. It was odd. But I think they could show restraint because he just didn't have his best stuff. He wasn't able to set things up, and it was not a great game for him. Now, having said that this is probably his worst, month or so of starts, he also had 2 fantastic big league starts. I still think he's probably going to end up back in AAA at some point because when this team gets healthy, do you send him down or do you send down Logan Allen? And if you're out there saying they're never going to get healthy, I understand that view. And I think that Tanner is totally strong enough to stay. I'm not saying he needs to be sent down after this. What I'm saying is I still think that, this becomes another, rational reason to avoid a Super 2 situation further down the line when the rest of the staff gets healthy. But he is fantastic. And, I was kind of curious, so I typed his name into Twitter. The amount of negative reactions because his third start was not great. Yes, the Tigers are terrible. You want him to dominate in these.
The Tigers are in second place, Jeff. The Guardians are in third.
The Tigers
Stop calling them a bad team. The Guardians are a bad team. The Tigers are okay.
The Tigers are a terrible team too. I mean, these are the 2 worst offenses in baseball facing each other. This is a bad. These offenses. I've seen. No, I'm gonna cut myself off there. I'm not gonna get myself in trouble. These offenses they're horrible. And yes, but he's a young pitcher. There's gonna be ups and downs. That is the way of the game. I think he's going to be fine. I still think he's the future ace of this team. And I don't know. I just sat there tonight watching this team struggle until I was like, I can't. I'm going to go watch the NHL Lotto. And then
how'd that turn out for you?
Kicked in the nards twice in one night.
You were a Kilbadoon.
I was.
So you had a night as bad as Kilbadoon.
But I don't know, any team. I'm sorry if you're a Chicago fan, but I really don't like after everything that's happened with the Blackhawks. That was the worst possible outcome.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, give it to anyone else. Let him go home to Vancouver. Anything other than that outcome. But to go back to baseball, it's like
we're talking about hockey here. Jeez,
hockey. Sorry, but I'm just sitting there watching this team, and I'm like, well, how can he stick around? And I was just sitting there being like, okay, so if we trade Shane Bieber to the Cardinals, what is the top return we could get? Could you
Jordan Walker?
Could you see? I don't think but I'm like, is there a world where you do Bieber and can get Newt Bar? Probably not, but maybe is there a world where you can get something like that interesting? How much does a year and a half of Bieber have? Can we get a flipping outfielder who can hit his weight? That's all I want. An outfielder who can hit their weight Because, and again, Quan is having a solid, steady year, but we need someone who is more than like solid, steady. We need one thumper in this lineup somewhere. But yeah, that was kind of my desperation. I'm still fully in on Bieber. He had an up and down outing. When I say I think he's going to end up in the minors at some point, it's for no other reason than service time.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the camp that I think that he won't go back down just because that'll pop up, and I don't know. You just can't trust any of it. But I'm not. I think he'll pitch too well to do that. They'll make another decision. But who knows what that looks like? I mean, we could still be a month away from this even having happened. So, all right. So Jeff talked about when they need a hitter, but I don't think big changes are coming. We are going to talk about that in just a second, along with hey, David Fry actually exists. We have proof, and then we'll talk about Shane Bieber and Michael Lorenzen on Tuesday. And like we said, Shane Bieber, Michael Lorenzen, you can catch first pitch at 6:10 Eastern or 5:10 if you're living out by Jeff, or I don't know, what is it? It would be 4:10 Rocky Mountain time.
And then 3:10 if you're in California, 2:10 for Alaska, right? And 1:10 in the afternoon if you're in Hawaii.
I could go for some 1:10 baseball in Hawaii. You want to know what? I would not be as mad about this team's offense if I lived in Hawaii, because I would live in Hawaii and I would say, you know what? The game's over at 3:00 or it's a 2-hour game, and I would go out and catch some waves.
Ask Joey Cantello about it next time you get a chance to go to Akron.
Yeah, that might happen. Maybe I'll ask him about how it is to play for a team that also can't score in Akron. Yeah. Speaking of other teams that can't score, look, the Guardians, I know people want to say, well, they should pinch hit this guy or they should bring this guy up. They should do that. Like, yeah, we talked yesterday about, Rocchio needs a chance at some point. He's hitting well and it's better than what's going on. I think we all know who Amed Rosario is. Like, he might get hot here in a few weeks and he might go, 11 for 17 at some point with like 5 singles and a triple. And maybe he'll even steal a base if he remembers how to do that, if anybody remembers how to do that. But like, who Amed Rosario is and how much of a bigger hole is he going to dig for him to dig himself out and become a league average bat again this year? Because that's what he's been, is a league average bat. Is Brian Rocchio going to be better than that? Maybe. I mean, we think so. People also thought that Amed Rosario was going to be better than that as a prospect. So there are no guarantees. And my whole point of this is, yeah, like you could decide that, okay, we're done with Cam Gallagher, even though they really seem to like how he's handling the pitching staff and it's a backup catcher role and they always value defense and leadership in that role. You can part-time Bo Naylor with Mike Zunino. You can bring up Rocchio, and maybe in a month from now, you see Valera once he gets to AAA and his feet are under him. If he's hitting well, if he's not doing well, God only knows what's going to happen. If that wrist is even healthy, if it stays healthy. But like these are the big that's it. You're just going to call it more rookies, and maybe that works. It worked last year, but like big changes aren't coming here. The team that's here has to figure it out. Like you can send Will Brennan back to AAA for Valera. You can play Gabriel Arias in right field and hope he catches fire and he turns into what his offensive upside is. But Josh Bell's got to figure it out. Stephen Kwan's got to bring on. Stephen Kwan's not really the problem. He's fine. He's not as good as he was a year ago. Andres Jimenez is making $100 million and he's not hitting right now. Luckily, his defense hasn't slipped. I want to talk about that too. But the guys that are here have to play. They have to hit. They have to improve. This team is who they are. They built a young team around contact and speed, and they hope that some of these guys' contact rates, they could teach them to hit for a little bit of power. That hasn't happened. They banked a lot. They banked a lot on Tyler Freeman types and Will Brennan's, and maybe it works. It's too soon to say it's not going to work, but it's not working right now, and things aren't changing. This is a young 40-man roster with more prospects on it down below. Like, it's not like you have a bunch of 31-year. You don't have Nick Swisher or Michael Bourne eating up 50% of your payroll and not hitting, and they're 34 years old, and you're just going to cut them and get Chris Johnson back before he gets bit by a spider. Like, that's not happening. These guys are playing. Andres Jimenez is making $100 million. He has to hit. Mike Zunino, I mean, you can move on from him and hope Bo Naylor is better, but he's still a rookie. You're not guaranteed anything. And maybe you can say you feel better about a bunch of other rookies, but this team's already young as it is. So big changes aren't coming. Like, you're not going to get Matt Olson and Sean Murphy now. It's too late. These guys have to hit. They have to figure it out. They are the guys who are here have to play.
So I do want to just throw one thing out. Do you care to have a guess at, for Ahmed Rosario, big name prospect, huge upside, top 10 prospect in baseball, what his minor league OPS was?
825.
740. So he never really hit in the minors. So expecting him to hit in the majors and be his slugging percentage in the minors was 405. In the majors, it's 400. 272 batting in the majors, 291 batting in the minors. Like, he hasn't regressed that much. It's just that's who he was. There wasn't another level to him. At least
people
with
thought he was.
Yeah, at least with a Rocchio, he's had his minor league OPS is a 780. So, a little bit better. Whereas Ahmed Rosario, again, was a top 10 prospect in baseball. And yes, he was. But this is kind of the great lie that we all got fed when he was coming up, that he was young for his level. So that is the great equalizer. I say it's the great lie because for a while, many of us, including yours truly, would bring this up. Like, there's no better indicator of future success than being a younger than the level. And it was true, but that's because the truly great players excelled at those levels. Whereas when you're Ahmed Rosario and you're about league
average, mediocre. Yeah.
Excuse. And that's just the thing. He is what he is. And what drives me batty in this situation, where I'm going to kind of minorly disagree with you here, is Ahmed isn't coming back next year. He's not.
He's not.
There's no way they're gonna. And I talked about in yesterday's show. It's like, so why are we wasting? We need to figure out what Tyler Freeman is. We need to figure out what Brian Rocchio is. We're gonna burn, this whole year. It's like there's no point in playing him. There isn't. Like, what you're hoping you're not gonna. It's the same thing with Plesac. You're not recouping trade value. Like, these are guys. If you trade them, it's for Anthony Castro types. This is a Bradley Zimmer trade value area on both those guys. So at this point in time, it's like, make Ahmed a platoon bat and a super sub. And yeah, it completely hoses his free agent value. But as a team, you can't afford to run him out there. And even if he has his, he does play poorly at the start of the year. And I've talked about this on the show all the time, but like, he's playing even more poorly than normal. Like, the rebound, if it comes, isn't going to be enough to balance it out. And he's a below average defender. So he's not bringing you anything with the glove. So when he's
not running.
Yeah.
This is the one thing well.
So
he does well.
He's not bringing any value right now. He is a sub value guy outside of, he's apparently a great dude, great teammate.
Great. So we're going to have a happy clubhouse of losers. Is that what we're saying? Hey, everyone's going to be happy. We're not really upsetting anybody, but we're going to keep losing to the freaking Tigers on May 8th.
They're 1-4 against the Tigers. I'll say it again. 1-4 against the Tigers, who are geared up to have the second pick or third pick in this year's draft and did nothing to improve on that team. Nothing to improve on a bottom 5 team. And
what did you say Ahmed Rosario's OPS was in the minors?
741.
Do you want to know whose was higher in the minors?
Like every shortstop they haven't played yet?
Not a shortstop, but just to kind of hammer the point home today. Eric Haase had a minor league OPS of 796.
And to add into that, Eric Haase had some really bad years in there. Like, he was almost a non-prospect and entering his 5th or 6th year in the minors. And at some point, we're going to have a segment on this show. And again, Nolan Jones is playing in AAA Albuquerque. New Mexico is not a fair environment, but for a team desperate for power, and Juan Brito, it looks like something special. So I'm not going to hate on that trade, but
do they really need another Juan Brito?
But at some point we're just going to sit here and start running Nolan Jones's line across the bottom of the screen. Not today, but in the future, as he's going to soon have more home runs than the whole Guardians team. And again, the most hitter-friendly environment probably on the planet of the earth. So we'll put that there. But like, for a team that needs power in some form, shape, or way, like I said, it's Zunino has come back to earth. You got one guy with above league average OPS right now, and that's Jose. We knew Zunino would come back to earth. They got to figure out a way to make it work. There are small ways, but you're right. Barring some kind of crazy big trade, barring things falling apart, and trying to do a refresh for next year. Because that's the thing. Like, if this team is 7-8 back at the end of July, Bieber might be gone. Like, that could happen. Maybe they flip Ahmed for a pack of AAA batteries. I don't know what they do other than like, hey, we need.
They would have a higher OPS.
Well, it's not even like, not to knock him again. He could be a great teammate, but it's like he's taking reps and you're paying him millions of dollars. So it's like, hey, if another team takes him off your hand, that saves you $4 million, and you can just use those reps on your $1.5 billion shortstops. Like, someone talked about how in the comments you're a Jose Tena denier. I'm just gonna point that out, but like Jose Tena is still on this roster, and he's still not hitting after what is this like his
soon?
Is this his 7th season in AA? That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
But they have all these shortstops. I'm not the biggest Ty Freeman guy, but I'd like to see him play. I don't know if he will. We got to still see Rocchio.
David Fry played. Hey, David Fry
played.
exists. They can't confirm.
But for how long?
David Fry. Well, they face a lefty on Wednesday, so hopefully he exists again on Wednesday. And I don't know. I thought his bats were fine. That's the best you can really say.
And we should running on low of time here, but it's like talking about the game heading forward. They have to win tomorrow because Eduardo Rodriguez has pitched really well, and there's a good chance if they lose tomorrow that they are facing a sweep. A good chance of being swept against the Tigers and going 1-5 or no 1 Wait, did I get that wrong before? I'm sorry. They're 1-3 against the Tigers. They kept saying 1-4. They're 1-3. I was already giving them another loss, the inevitable one that's coming. But they have a good chance of going 1-5 against the Detroit Tigers. Again, the only team whose offense is worse than the Tigers this year is the Cleveland Guardians. This is not a good team, and they're getting owned by them.
Yeah, I looked up earlier. Guardians left on base. They are the 7th. They have the 7th worst. Most runners left on base this year, but you know what they don't have in common with the 6 teams ahead of them? They all have an OPS plus near league average. The Guardians OPS plus is 78. They have left 244 runners on base. The Red Sox have left 244 runners on base. They have an OPS plus of 113. The Mets have left 247 runners on base. They have an OPS plus of 96, which is 4 points below league average. Everybody else ahead of them has an OPS plus above league average. So the Guardians have nothing in common with any of those because they have the worst. The Guardians OPS plus 78. The next closest team is the Cincinnati Reds at 81. Cincinnati Reds are not trying to win this year. They are not a serious franchise outside of, I don't know, Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. That's about it. So not great. Hey, at least the defense was good today. I know Akil Baddoo doesn't appreciate it, but the throw and the catch by Jimenez was great.
And Miles Straw saved another run. Very easily Tanner
Jimenez had 2
should have given up another run.
If you want to look at like the smallest sliver of silver linings, the team is not taking their bad offense into the field. Like that is the thing you can maybe take away the most is this team is not taking, because that often happens with young players. You struggle at the plate, you take the defense and you take that on the defense, and they're not doing that right now. So that's good. I don't know if this is good news or bad news for the Guardians. Michael Lorenzen is a bad pitcher.
He's a reliever.
Basically. Everything on his StatCast or Savant page is blue except for fastball spin. All of his pitches have been getting destroyed this year, except for his fastball. But guess what? The Guardians don't do well, Jeff.
Fastballs.
They only hit fastball, or they only hit fastballs.
I'm sorry.
Well, Michael Lorenzen's fastball is his best pitch. He has nothing else. So, that's good news. So he has one pitch. It's the one pitch the Guardians can hit or cannot hit. So that's great. So that should be a good combination for 6 more hits and 1 run.
No, it's just it's. I know at this time a year ago people were like, "Don't be negative," but it's hard not to be.
There's expectations now. I'm sorry.
Yes, they have to do better, and when your offense is the worst in the league by the margins we're talking about, when they are just not able to, when every single game they're underperforming, when they're not taking advantage of the new roles, when they seem to just not understand things compared to the rest of the league right now, it's like, what is going on? Why are they not doing things that everyone else seems to see as commonplace? And I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer. I'm sorry to say that, but this team is what they are. And as Justin stated, we're not going to see massive changes unless they completely implode and then sell off.
Those are the changes you want.
Those are the only massive changes that are coming. Yeah, we'll see Bo Naylor at some point. We'll see
Valera at some point.
We'll see Valera. We'll see Rocchio. I don't think we'll see Gavin Williams. I'll just go ahead and say that with all the other call-ups in the depth.
If they're playing well, I could see something for him late. But if they're out of the race, there's no reason to bring them up.
I'll talk about someone with some walk issues in AAA, again, small sample size, but I think
the guy has no control. You just
so you might as well just cut him. Just cut him. There's no point based on what we saw according to that other writer.
Hopefully we look stupid on not June 8th, but hopefully we look stupid on July 8th after they've gone 18-10 in June or something. The offense reverts, like Jimenez gets it back together, and Will Brennan or Oscar Gonzalez or Valera or Ahmed goes on a heater, and I don't know. Maybe hopefully we'll look stupid, but the guys who are here have to hit. That is what it is. Otherwise, like you said, Bieber, Rosario, traded for whatever you can get, and you're looking to 2025 and hoping that John Kenton Noel. I don't know what you can really. I mean, I don't want to be the doomsday guy and say 2025 is doomed, but the guys on the 40-man roster are pretty young. Either make a trade or you are going to be hoping this works out next year too, and going through the same questions.
You can't keep being the bridesmaid. They thought they had Matt Olson, then Freddie Freeman signs with the Dodgers. That's probably the biggest pivot point in recent team history. If Freddie Freeman re-signs with Atlanta, I think Matt Olson is a Guardian. I honestly do.
Yeah.
And then,
for 2 years, I don't think they're re-signing him, but for 2 years he's here.
Probably not. But then the Murphy situation, like at some point you got to stop clutching the prospects to some degree, get that deal across the finish line. They thought they had Murphy at last trade deadline. I think they were probably closer at the deadline than they were this offseason. So it's like you at some point you just got to get that over the line and use some of that depth. Consolidate. I've been talking about consolidating prospects for 3+ years. Hopefully we'll see it get done with this team as in contention, but it's frustrating. But at least you did not take a Mike Zunino throw to your nethers. So no matter how frustrating it is, at least you got that going for you.
Watching the Guardians offense doesn't feel the same.
At least we don't have to ice ourselves down after the game.
I want to take a cold shower or a hot shower after the game to
cold shower. It's got you really
hot shower, I should say. I smell like hot garbage watching the offense. Yeah.
No, but we thank you all for sticking through us. Again, we know it is not the most fun time to be a Guardians fan. So we try to keep it even. We talk about the positives and negatives. We try to keep it fun, throw some stuff out there for you. So we hope everyone is appreciating that.
Tell a friend, please.
And we will. We're gonna keep going at it. We are here every day. We got your team every day. Thank you all again for being part of the Locked On Guardians team. And go Guardians, go.